Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk Today.
What's on your mind, Cayman? If you're ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Discussing current events and local news, community spotlights, hot topics, listener stories, cultural and historical discussions, environmental issues, fun and lighthearted topics, guest interviews. Cayman, basically anything you want to talk about, we are ready to listen. Here's your guest host.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. As we continue to celebrate Women Month, the Family Resource Center has so many programs going on, and this afternoon there will be another discussion right here on Talk Today, so please stay tuned. Talk Today will be back shortly.
Talk Today is reminding you
to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
And now, back to Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I am your host. My name is Orrett Connor, and we have representatives in the studio who will be talking about the continuing celebration of Celebrate Women Month in the Cayman Islands, and it's an event that takes place throughout the world as well. Mm-hmm. And in the studio with me this afternoon, we have Miss Anne-Marie Diaz, who is the program coordinator at the Family Resource Center, and she will also serve as my co-host this afternoon because she will be presenting many of the questions, if not all of them. Mm-hmm. Also in the studio with us, no stranger, even though I don't see her as often as I would like to, is Miss Carleen Bramwell. She is the from the Gender Affairs Unit. Also in the studio with us, Miss Hannah Foreman from the Cayman Islands HR Professionals. Ladies, good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you.
Okay, so celebrate women.
Celebrating women. So honoring Women Month has been March. This has been our 26th anniversary. Thank you, as always, for having us, Mr. O.C. I appreciate you and the entire team at Radio Cayman. And so we're halfway through. We're looking at the final stretch of our campaign, and we have a few more amazing events coming up. Because Ms. Carleen Bramwell is here, she's partnering with us as a part of Gender Affairs Unit. I definitely want to touch on the events that we're partnering with. And Women and Their Wheels, a car care workshop through Superior Auto.
Yes.
We're looking at the second part of that workshop this Saturday, 10 to 1 p.m. at Superior Auto. We do encourage registration because it just helps us. We want to, make sure you're fed and comfortable and that we have suitable spacing for you. So we do encourage you to register by going on to frc.gov.ky and going under the Honoring Women Month campaign. There's loads of registrations for different events or for volunteering. And so one of them will be our Women and Their Wheels. If you're on social media, you can just go onto our Instagram in the bio, and it's right there at the top, actually. So go ahead and register there. It's something really useful for all of us women, right? I think we take it for granted sometimes that, our mechanic might deal with it. But like you said, we don't want to be damsels in distress.
Not at all.
We want to be able to be self-reliant and manage our own things, including our own car.
Indeed.
So having the basics is really helpful to make sure we're not stranded on the road, not knowing what to do or who to call. And Superior Auto is very kindly partnering with us on that.
Indeed. And Saturday I actually was a part of that workshop, and I've learned some of the things that I'm not doing properly already. So I shall be checking my oil more regularly, and I shall be looking at my transmission fluid and all of these bits and pieces. And I'd like to really thank Superior Auto and Mr. Langsley Dawkins for presenting to us. So last week we did some theory, and this week we're going to get our hands dirty and do some practical.
So
people are
comfortable.
still, people are still encouraged to come along, even if you weren't there last week.
Good. Yeah, and the practical, I think that's how we learn too, by doing the practical. So I think this will be the best part of the workshop. So definitely still come out. Register ahead of time, please. There were some ladies, at least, that messaged and wanted to just pop in. And I did tell them yes, so hopefully that was okay. But we do encourage registration, just so we know numbers. And Ms. Carlene's also partnered with us for the Female Farmers and Artisan Market, which will be on the 28th, right here again on the Glass House lawn during the day from 11 to 5. And it's always nice to get your local produce. You know that it's nice and fresh. You know that where it's coming from. And then you're supporting other women, female farmers and artisans in particular. So we definitely encourage you to come on out to that. And outside of these partnerships, I would say Inspire Her. We have the Women Inspiring Girls Conference this Saturday also. So if you have a teenager or you know of a young person between 13 and 18 that could benefit from learning from a professional woman within an industry, we have different industries represented. So young ladies between that age are maybe trying to figure it out. So we definitely encourage you to consider that. If you're a parent or auntie or caregiver for a teenager, that's a great one for you, as well as our suite of diversity, equity, and inclusion workshop series. That'll be the final week of March. We have Miss Desiree Phillips coming again. She's a psychotherapist and equity consultant. And I'm going to encourage people to check out the calendar and the full list of information that we have, because I really want to maximize on having Miss Carleen and Miss Hannah here to talk about the topic of the day, which is sexual harassment. And am I okay to go into it?
Sure. Go right into it.
So welcome, ladies. We're here to keep the flame alive about the sexual harassment bill, to make sure that listeners are well educated, or as educated as they need to be on the topic, especially within the spheres that they occupy. So let's just get into maybe the basics around the sexual harassment bill and what the overall goal is and what we're hoping to achieve by having the sexual harassment bill.
Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to interrupt you so that we can take the commercial break, so that we don't have to interrupt midway there as well. This way we can have that continuity that we like to have when talking. Folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back. Talk Today will be back shortly.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Subway and Oreo has changed the dessert game. Introducing the Oreo Footlong Cookie, a full 12 inches of chocolatey, creamy goodness. It's big, it's bold, and it's here for a limited time. Perfect for sharing or not. We won't judge. Want it fast? Order ahead with the Subway Cayman Islands app for quick pickup and earn loyalty points. Or get it delivered straight to your door with Bento and Let's Eat. Don't wait. Treat yourself today. The Oreo Footlong Cookie is calling your name. Subway. Eat fresh. Snack sweet.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by CG Britcay. Insurance, health, pensions, life, where people come first.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. For those of you who are just joining us, the continued celebration and honoring Women Month in the Cayman Islands through the Family Resource Center. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this afternoon Miss Anne-Marie Diaz, Miss Carleen Bramwell, and Miss Hannah Foreman. We will be talking about sexual harassment bill as well as human resources. Before we went to the commercial break, Miss Anne-Marie was in the process of, she had introduced Ms. Bramwell, but I'm going to have you do that all over again so that we can have that continuity. So
Absolutely. So thank you, Mr. O.C. We have Miss Carleen Bramwell here with us. And so the question was really about just the basics, what's kind of our overall goal with this bill, and what are our main kind of action or main points of it for those listening.
Let me start off by saying that it's no longer a bill. It's actually an act. So I'm pleased that the government of the day found it possible and appropriate to actually pass this bill in Parliament on February 6th. So late in the night, those persons who were listening heard that final reading. So yes, it's finally passed, so it is an act. The actual enactment and implementation of it will come in a little while, perhaps between 18 and 24 months, etc., because there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done to ensure that persons have that sort of legal recourse and all the structures, etc. However, in the meantime, sexual harassment is still an offense,
right?
Because it is under the Gender Equality Act anyways.
Right.
It was already included there. And there are a number of offenses within, like the penal code, for example, which the behaviors are actually sexual harassment related.
Right.
So nobody should think that, oh, well, I have 24 months to do what I want. In that time, what should be happening is that companies of all sizes, even households, are also required to have a sexual harassment policy within their organization. So whether you're an NGO, whether you're a church, whether you are a business owner, whether you're a hotel, whether you are a institution, a prison, anything, any services that you offer, any place that the public is served, has to have a sexual harassment policy. So that's the first point. So there's nobody who is escaping from that.
Right.
and that is monitored as well, or are they required to provide the ministry or the enforcement entity with?
So that is one of the operational things that will be worked out. Because it could mean that there's an extra layer for somebody who is getting a business license, for example, to provide that. The good thing is that we have also provided a sample template within the bill when it was actually drafted. So that's there. And throughout this period of time, there'll be lots of public education and also assistance with drafting policies as well. So we will be looking at some of those agencies like the HR Society, for example, to see what sort of assistance they can give with that support. Because we do realize that with smaller businesses, it may be a little bit, challenging to actually write up your own policy because you haven't even thought about it much more, have the skills to do it. So we will be supporting businesses with that. In terms of the overall goal of the Act, really and truly, it was created because some people might ask, but if we already had it in the gender equality law, then why do we have it separately? The thing is that within the Gender Equality Act, it was basically 2 sentences that said sexual harassment is essentially is wrong. Exactly. Don't do it. So this particular act now gives a really clear and detailed way of it. It describes what sexual harassment is. It describes who are all of the organizations, etc., who it covers, who needs to have a policy, and then it also has established a anti-sexual harassment tribunal separate from the Gender Equality Tribunal to actually look at these cases.
Right.
In addition, it also then looks at what are some of the orders, what are the consequences essentially of committing an act of sexual harassment.
Right.
So it's very, very detailed in that regard.
And I know when we think of the sexual harassment bill, the act now, we think about it in terms of the workplace, these various organizations that should have these policies in place. But how do you see that it maybe impacts community-wide? So even outside the workplace, do you foresee that the way in which people think or their mindsets are shifting around this?
So the hope is that, first of all, people will realize how serious it is by actually just having the bill on the act on its own. This is a piece of legislation that we are all bound to essentially. So whether you are in a workplace or not, the limitation with it, unfortunately, is that it doesn't cover street harassment, meaning public harassment.
Right.
But the intention then would be down the line to actually see what can be done in relation to that part of it. Many countries struggle with how do you actually enforce those sorts of things. But at least we're starting somewhere and covering all of the areas that at least a section of the public is served by. And it also would cover visitors to the island and students and that sort of thing. So it covers everybody. So in that regard, it is community-wide, and we would hope then that the perceptions of the community will be changed to realize that, yes, this is a serious thing.
So can we encourage persons, and like you said, there's 18 to 24 months you're looking at all this groundwork to take place, but we can encourage members of the community, persons that are probably in a position to create the policies within their organizations to start this work. What's kind of the first step? Should they just download the act, review it, look at the template? What can we encourage persons to start with?
That would be the first thing, actually. Just get familiar with what the act actually says.
Right.
And it can be found on the government website. So it's right there. So once you look through the act, then you will realize I am an organization, I'm an association.
Right.
I need to have a policy. I am serving youth. I am serving elderly people. I need to have a policy. So I need to be able to cover my employees. That's the first thing, and also my customers, clients, third parties. Within the law as well, we need to realize that sexual harassment goes both ways. So what it means is that a customer should not be permitted to come into your organization and sexually harass one of your employees. It is now your responsibility as the employer to make sure that that doesn't happen. So whether it is going to be banning that customer or whatever, that needs to be ensured.
Can we have some clarity on, is it the Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill as opposed to the Sexual Harassment Bill? I think that's significant as well.
So one of the things that was, I guess we took it for granted in the beginning that we're talking about anti. However, yes, when it was drafted first, and this has been a process of, I think,
20 years since.
20 years since, yes, it was first fought for by the Business and Professional Women's Club. That started off with a survey that was done in 2006, which showed that a lot of people had experienced sexual harassment in the workplace, on the road, etc., etc. So all of this has been formulated and reformulated and so forth. And I got personally involved in it as the senior policy analyst for gender in 2021. So since then, we have also had different drafts of it. Right. The last draft that was put forward, we then put that anti-sexual harassment in the beginning of it. So
right, yeah. So that's an important title to be wary of or mindful of. Right. That's true. I suppose I'm thinking too about persons who maybe have been following it, right? So we certainly want to tip our hat to those that have gotten started. But I can imagine, because of the topic, it's not that black and white, or it must be quite challenging to think of all, like you said, the customers also being included in this too, right? Is it something that I think maybe in our minds we might think, oh, this is exclusively to protect women? Who really are we protecting with the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act?
We are protecting everybody. As I said before, sexual harassment is not only affecting one set of people.
Right.
So therefore, while predominantly many women may be affected, the fact is that I have heard from men who say that they have been sexually harassed, and it doesn't have to be from the opposite sex. It could be another man. And I think that if we move from thinking about, touching only as sexual harassment, but other things like you're exposing somebody to pornography, or you're exposing them to images, even a calendar on the wall with somebody who is, not clad, or you're making jokes and so forth that have a sexual nature behind them. All of these things are sexual harassment.
Right.
So anybody essentially can be harassed.
Right.
And therefore, the law then covers persons, those victims, to then be able to do something about it. One of the things to also note is that within the law, this is separate from, let's say, a two-person company, but each person would have to go through the mechanisms within their organization first, before they can then come to the tribunal.
Right.
So there needs to be a procedure within the organization. You follow through with that procedure. If you're not happy as a victim with what the outcome of that is, or you feel that something was not done correctly, then you have the option to come to the tribunal. And there's an 18-month period in which you can make that complaint.
That's quite broad, actually.
Yes, some people say it may be too short. Some may say it's too long. But we also recognize that Cayman is a community where the labor force is always turning over. That's one.
Right.
And then secondly, with sexual harassment being the sort of sensitive issue that it is, people have a difficult time coming forward because there are repercussions. They feel repercussions from coming forward. But I'd also love to give people the assurance that any victimization after making a complaint, or if you say that you're going to make a complaint, that is also unlawful.
Right.
So the company, the person can also be charged, fined, etc. with that too as an offense.
And how important it is with the Caribbean culture that we have, and not only Caribbean, but we have 100 and odd different nationalities in the Cayman Islands, and acts that may be acceptable in other jurisdictions. How important is it to highlight that people who are here those persons who are here know that it is against the law whereas where they come from, it may not be.
Right. So that is obviously one of the challenges because sexual harassment can look like different things. Was one of the reasons why, at least there is a description of it within the law itself. There will be a lot of public education campaign around sort of illustrating what is and what is not. And I think that, yes, cultural context is important, but I also feel that we have to remember that it is about the person who is experiencing it. So if you call me sweetheart and I am offended by sweetheart, then you need to stop.
Yes.
Right? Right. And I know a lot of people use that one as sort of a low level, petty sort of a example, but I think that it is relevant and it starts right there. So and it's about the respect and power imbalances and all of those things that combine to make it harassment in addition to that sexual piece.
I was going to say it must feel quite, we're here obviously talking about honoring Women Month. It must feel quite empowering for a woman to decide to maybe do something like that, but there's also that place where whatever your gender or your cultural background, you might start to second guess, is this really, am I being petty? Is this something that I should be? So that's a hard place. So it's good that there is that 18-month period to maybe seek guidance from the appropriate channels, right, when making a claim. And I want to bring Hannah into this conversation
We're
too.
We're going to take a commercial break first.
Break.
Yeah. Remember, every 15 minutes, so you may want to keep your eye on me a little bit. So we're going to take a commercial break now. We haven't brought Hannah in yet. We're going to bring her in, but there's so much more to discuss. So I'm going to consult, with my colleagues. We have another interview scheduled for 1:30.
Yeah.
So if possible, just extend this segment, until closer to 1:30 so that you can cover all of it. So we'll know positively about that as soon as we return from this commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Easter vacation is just around the corner, and Cayman Airways has added multiple extra flights to some of your favorite destinations, some of mine too. Look here, they got seats available now for booking on extra Easter flights between Grand Cayman and Kingston, La Ceiba, Miami, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and you can even catch a non-stop flight to Montego Bay for Easter. Check it out. You can visit CaymanAirways.com, contact a local travel agent, or call Cayman Airways Reservations on 949-2311. And don't wait too long though, because these extra Easter seats always sell fast. Be sure to add your Sir Turtle Rewards number to your booking so you can earn more miles for more free trips this year. Well, I know where I'm going. I'll see you on board a uniquely Caymanian airline for Easter.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
The nation listens. The candidates speak. Subway presents the General Election Debates, live in studio on Radio Cayman 89.9 FM and 93.9 in the Sister Islands. Every Monday and select Wednesdays from 7 to 10 p.m. 2 sessions. One powerful discussion. With Election Day fast approaching, hear what the candidates have to say on the cost of living, housing and development, economic growth, sustainability, education, transport, tourism, immigration, and more. Who has the vision? Who has the plan? Hear it all unfold live, unfiltered, and on the voice of the Cayman Islands. Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM and 93.9. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Visit Radio Cayman's social media pages for debate details. Brought to you in part by Cayman Enterprise City.
Also brought to you by Reflections, UCCI, and Yum.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I am your host. My name is Orrett Connor. Continuing to celebrate honoring Women's Month in the Cayman Islands, we're talking about the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. And you heard from the expert, Ms. Carleen Bramwell. She's a senior policy analyst with the Gender Affairs Unit as well. And Ms. Diaz was in the process of introducing Ms. Hannah Foreman, so we will do that formally now.
Okay.
And for those of you who are listening, there's still lots to cover, so we will be continuing this discussion until about 1:25 p.m. when at 1:30 we will have other guests in the studio. So
Wonderful.
over to you, Ms. Anne-Marie.
Oh, thank you so much for extending our period. It's so good because this is such an important topic.
Yes.
And I know there's such a breadth to talk about today. So Ms. Hannah Foreman, we invited you. You're representing the Cayman Islands Human Resources and Professional Society. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And so we've been talking about it in the general sense, community. Ms. Bramwell shared loads of information that also includes the organization's responsibility when it comes to this act. I know for a long time we've been talking about it as the Sexual Harassment Bill, but we now need to get used to the new terminology, which is the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. And we can actually look that up. It is on the government website and get familiar with it. There's a template in which we can create a policy for our own organization, no matter what form of organization it is. If you're facing persons, if you're serving people, it's important that you have this in place. And so when we're thinking about that, we're thinking about our organization. There's listeners maybe that have a church, a youth serving organization, or a big conglomerate. What is it that you would suggest to them? Because I know we might think there's maybe some time to play with, but really it's about respecting your employees and your customers or clients. What can they start to do from now and actually should be putting in place if they haven't already?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think it's fantastic that this act, first off, is at the point where it is. So congratulations to everybody involved for that and driving this forward. The act in itself is fantastic because it gives you a policy that you can literally carbon copy out. So from an organization or employer standpoint, you have really no excuse to be able to do it. My hope is, and a lot of my clients, I see that they have a lot of policies and procedures in place. To your point, they are big, financial services or legal entities, and they have everything by the book documented. Really, this policy could just be slotted in nicely alongside a lot of that stuff. When you think about big organizations, they have maybe a grievance policy that they already follow, kind of a specific step when somebody has an issue. You could very easily include sexual harassment within that and have those actions for what an employer should do in those instances. As Ms. Bramwell mentioned, once you go through that process, then the employee is able to go to the tribunal thereafter, but at least the employee feels that they have some kind of action that can be taken, and it's clear in black and white that says if A happens, we do B, C, and D. And therefore, if you are unhappy at the end, you then can do X, Y, and Z, right? It's really clear and in black and white. And even though this may take 18 months, 24 months to be kind of formalized, I don't think employers have an excuse to delay it any longer. I think putting it in sooner, finding those employees within your organization that can be change champions and really drive this forward is super important. You may always have some people that are resistant to change, as we are aware, or, you know, to Mr. OC's comment about culture may just not be aligned with their own values.
Right.
Trying to get people on board that, you know, getting those people on board is difficult. So having people that are already that way, I think is really important. So there's little things employers can already do to make it, to put this in place.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I suppose the only thing maybe standing in the way, like you said, there might be cultural things, but also I think those that are maybe scared of the implications or the consequences that this could mean, right? But the aim of it is to protect, right? And so if we start our mindset around that this is there to protect everybody, we're having a different vantage point, hopefully, and can see the value in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that you said that there's really no reinvention of any wheels, really, because the act is there, the template's there. And considering that you may already have policies in place, it's really about how does this fit into the policies we actually already have within our organization.
Yep.
So that's great. Now, what else do you think we maybe need to consider? Or you made a good point about change champions, and that really doesn't have to necessarily be leaders or the policymakers. That could be maybe a society or a group of employees or maybe a single person. What would you say to those that maybe they don't have one, or maybe they don't know that there's one within their organization? What are those questions that we need to start asking, or those conversations that we need to start having around this within the organizations we occupy?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I think, there's a lot of stuff that employers can do is asking their employees. You know, employment surveys, for example, is something that a lot of employers already do. So getting that feedback, slotting in a question, you know, how do you feel about this? Is this something you're aware of? Is this something you'd be comfortable in being more involved in? I imagine most employers should be able to find, hopefully, one or two people. And if they can't, you know, maybe there's an external, to your point, organization that can help support it. You know, put in training, putting education around what it means, what the processes are. I think a lot of the kind of fear around it is that people they don't know what they don't know.
Yes,
so if you don't know, like, ask a professional, right? Obviously, all of us around this table know, for the most part, what we're talking about. So speak to us, right? There are HR consultancy firms out there as well, Cayman HR, who I work for. You know, we can do all of that. We can help smaller organizations, especially that maybe don't have policy in place, and, you know, maybe wouldn't even have thought about it in the first place. So I think there's a lot of little things that employers can do to to make it a more inclusive and a more kind of safe environment for anti-sexual harassment.
Because I know we were talking earlier about public education, that there's something that we can look forward to, all of us. But I suppose someone who wants, like, right now, they want to get started with it, could they reach out to your society and ask for an appointment and get support through maybe drafting?
Yeah, absolutely. Policy? Yeah, easily. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And my question to Ms. Bramwell on that would be whether or not the ministry or the unit has any plans when everything is all packaged to sensitize the public, the businesses and everything. And would you also be in a position to do lectures, to talk with, with businesses, in relation to the impacts and how they prepare for.
So, Mr. Connor, you said before that you haven't seen me since the last time. You're going to be seeing me too much in the next 18 to 24 months. So we'll have a whole communications plan to roll out to ensure that people are ready, that people are aware, etc. And within that communications plan, one of the things that we have talked about as well is offering that sort of hands-on training as well and skills. So that's one of the things that we will be doing down the line. But at this moment, I am the only person in the unit. So a call out to whoever will be the next government that we will need a unit. And separate apart from even the Sexual Harassment Bill Act, I remember in Parliament, those last few motions were around diversity in general and some of the things that we need to do. So I think in that regard, my unit as well could also be looking at those wider issues because it's all interrelated.
Okay, we have to go to our headline news. When we return, the conversation will continue right here on Talk Today. So please stay tuned. Talk Today will be back shortly.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. Radio Cayman continues its live in-studio debates tomorrow night, featuring candidates from Georgetown South and North. The broadcast will run from 7:30 to 10 p.m., so be sure to keep it locked right here on Radio Cayman. In international headlines, Israel launched airstrikes across the Gaza Strip, killing more than 400 Palestinians, shattering a ceasefire that's been in place since January, with its deadliest bombardment in a 17-month war with Hamas. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the strikes after Hamas refused Israeli demands to change the ceasefire agreement. Officials said the operation was open-ended and expected to expand. The White House says it has been consulted and voiced support for Israel's actions. U.S. FBI Director Kash Patel applauded Mexican authorities today for the arrest and handover of one of the FBI's 10 most wanted suspects, an alleged gang leader from El Salvador. Francisco Javier Roman Bardales is allegedly a senior leader of the MS-13 gang. He was arrested on Monday in the mountains of the Gulf Coast state of Veracruz by soldiers and federal agents. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Maybury Salisbury Kirkconnell, OBE JP, 1931 to 2002. Captain Maybury's career in public service began as a young man when he received medical treatment and would spend his school holidays assisting the local doctor on Cayman Brac. He was one of the pioneers of Cayman Brac Power and Light Company, Faith Hospital, and Kirkconnell Community Care Centre. He was a deacon at his church and often served as lay pastor, an opportunity he cherished. He was also a master mariner. Captain Maybury was elected to the Legislative Assembly in 1980 and served for 20 years. In 1996, he was elected Speaker, the second person to hold the post, and the first sitting MLA to be elected to the position. He did not seek re-election in 2000, but later accepted the legislators' unanimous call to return for another term as Speaker. He retired in 2001. Captain Maybury treasured his years in public service and lived by his motto, country before self. Although he and his wife, Marilyn Nee Parchman, had no children, they raised a grandniece, Otelia McKeever Scott, and Captain Maybury helped several Brack young people to obtain a higher education. Captain Maybury, Salisbury, Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Continuing to celebrate honoring Women Month here in the Cayman Islands. We're talking about the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, which was passed in Parliament in February. I see where a total of 15 members of Parliament backed the bill and approved it. I would imagine that the other 3, because we do have one who sits as the speaker, were probably absent why we didn't have a unanimous.
I'm glad that you said that, sir,
unanimous.
because I really wanted to correct that. So really,
I make sure I cover all the bases.
Thank you. And this is how media is. So yes, the bill was really supported by all of the parliamentarians, and I'm so happy for that because we worked very hard to ensure that their concerns were addressed within how the bill was written, etc. So I'm glad and very, very proud of this parliament that really actually after 20 years, the Cayman Islands is able to say that we have an Anti-Sexual Harassment Act.
Okay.
So that's really exciting. Thank you, Ms. Rosie. It's really exciting to know that it was unanimous. And if it is something that's so valued by our government, we were talking about during the break about talent retention and how actually you as an organization, making it a part of your brand, that Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, and in your case, in terms of an organization, might be a sexual harassment policy. It's actually quite valuable to employees to see that you as an organization are finding it important enough to have these things in place and actually voicing that, whether it's on your website or as part of your recruitment process even, could be something that's quite valuable, right?
Yep.
And I know we were talking too in the background about consent and how do we really figure out, I mean, there's that baseline that the Act provides in terms of what is appropriate and what isn't. So that is a very easy guideline to review. But how can we maybe seek consent in the workplace or even just in the community? If we're playing sports, wherever we are with other people, how do we kind of gently, in being mindful of this, seek that what's okay with someone else, right?
Yeah, I think being honest and transparent and open with the question, is as simple as it could be.
Right.
I do appreciate that, it's a sensitive topic. People get anxious about certain things, but I think by asking, you're displaying that level of respect for the other person. As Mr. Rossi said, the culture of somebody might be very different to yourself, and therefore what you would be comfortable with is very different from what someone else might be comfortable with based on their upbringing, based on where they've come from. We all live in a country that is so diverse, which is fantastic. And therefore we need to be mindful of those things. I think the other thing just to note is if a company does put this in place, and to your point about talent retention and attraction as well, I think as well from a country standpoint, having this in place, I think it really shows that we are committed to promoting a safe and respectful environment for all of our residents and, as an employer, all of your employees. Which I just think is very, very amazing.
Yeah.
And I think what's important there is all employees, because some people may look at this and think that it's only a female, female oriented. And I think, Ms. Bramwell, stressed that earlier as well,
And just to remember also that although, yes, a lot of it is about the workplace, the fact is that tenancy agreements are also included. So a landlord should also have this in his policy or his or her policy to say that there will be no sexual harassment either way. And better yet, if the people who also live in that, whether apartment complex or whatever the situation is, also understand that.
Yes, that's such a great point.
Yes, because we wanted to ensure that, and we have to think about where people are, whether it's majority women, majority men, whatever. If it's a bar, we know this situation as well in terms of the employees who are there, many of whom are women who are serving customers. It does not give the right to the customer in this respect. The customer is not right in this respect if they're going to be sexually harassing the persons who are serving them. So we have to be aware that all of us need to be thinking, even myself, because I have a habit of hugging people and so forth.
You'll have to stop that.
And although it's because of familiarity, you just automatically, I see a classmate and he's a guy and I'm like, hi, and so we also have to be conscious of what our own actions are.
That's a great point. That you yourself are thinking about these things and welcoming a classmate that might not want to hug. We have to figure out how to ask for consent around these things too, right? But I think about this too in terms of just having that equitable workplace. And I do want to plug again our diversity, equity, and inclusion workshop series. We actually have a suite of them available for different professionals in different stages, whether they're entering the workforce, they're experienced professionals or leaders. But we also have male allyship, actioning gender equality, the importance of male allyship. So I think this series is also maybe a good place because there is going to be some discussion-based sessions here where we can start to even talk about it in these spaces also and ask these questions. And it is going to be led by Desiree Phillips, a psychotherapist and equity consultant, but we'll also be there in terms of our agency representatives. And so if those topics come up there, that will be great too. So outside of this, I think we were also talking about measuring. How do we measure the effectiveness of this act? Or in the context of the organization, how does that individual organization maybe measure the effectiveness of their internal legislation, their policies, their procedures? What are some thoughts that you ladies might have on that?
So from a national perspective, and no decisions have been made on these things that I'm going to say, and these are my own opinions. Some recommendations in terms of other regions who have actually done these things before. There are thoughts around on an annual basis, for example, it may be a situation where the Gender Affairs Unit would ask or require companies to provide information, just raw, just data, anonymized data, just to say, oh yes, we have had 5 cases, five complaints. These were the ones that were resolved, etc. So it could be as simple as that, just so that we know that there has been some effectiveness of having a policy, etc. And more than likely, a lot of this may also come out in other types of data in terms of crime data, all of that sort of stuff. So I think that is one way. But as I said, there has been no real firm discussions on
Right.
how that will look. But
But
if
it's
we
something you're recommending.
exactly, and
that
if we
have
say that we are a country
Mhm.
that wants to be in competition and compared with other places, then we have to have the data to prove it.
We
You know,
do, yeah.
or else we will never know. We won't know what's working, and we won't know what else we need to do.
Right, and how to maybe push forward, or any changes that might need to be made in this respect, right? What about the individual organization, you'd say, Hannah, that's maybe thinking about measuring effectiveness just within their own company?
Yeah, I think even if it isn't a requirement under the law or under the Act, companies should still be measuring their own data internally in the event that they do have to produce it to somebody else. But from their own internal effectiveness to measure that, they can very easily track their own data.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, the hope is you don't have tons of these, and you know, maybe they decrease over time if you do have a lot in the beginning. That in itself is a fantastic piece of data to have for an employer. I think as well, if an employer decides to offer training or education around
Right.
this act and how to, you know, manage a specific claim or a complaint from somebody. You could track how effective has that training been.
Right.
You know, you could have surveys around what they've learned. You know, how have they actually used it in a real life situation. You could even just say how many people actually took the training, how many signed up for
Right,
it.
right.
You know, and if that data is really low and there isn't much engagement, how do we then increase that, right? So I think it's very easy things to do and put in place to track the effectiveness of something like that. And since the Act will require you to do a lot of certain things, there's really no excuse.
Yeah, and I think I mean, from the government standpoint, we have to put through our outputs or our monthly stats, and just having an extra tab to monitor in terms of not even just your employees, but maybe your clients and the customers reporting to those sort of instances too, or even maybe monitoring from where are these reports coming or how are you handling it. I think those are all useful things to consider.
Yes, and just to mention that in the civil service, because we already have a policy, much of that is sort of in place already.
Right.
Prior to that policy, we had grievance handlers, which would take those, and then the portfolio of civil service would sort of know how many complaints we have had. And in addition to that, we are also, this year in particular, the government, the DG has made one of the objectives of every single employee to actually take the bullying, harassment, etc. course online, and they can track to see who has taken it or not. So
go.
we
So
are
there are
already
those, yeah.
making that example and that model.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So there are these things that are actually already in place where we can actually start to measure, at least in terms of activity and engagement. So that's great. I suppose we could talk. I don't know if we have to go on.
No. We're going to end
something?
at about 1:25. So we have about 8 minutes left. And one of the things I wanted to ask also was that, like how we have now, for instance, a unit in almost every department that deals with freedom of information requests and things of that nature. From a HR standpoint, do you see someone being having the designation to deal with anti-sexual or sexual harassment issues in the workplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my hope is if you don't have somebody, there can be some training and education around that and how that person becomes that person. But yeah, I think I don't know. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry.
At least to guide the individual in terms of, if you have a complaint, what do you do as far as the company is concerned? And if you want to take it outside of the company, then what do you do as well?
Yeah.
Because in the template itself, that's one of the suggestions that is it. And to say about the template, it can be adjusted according to the circumstances of the organization. So, for example, because every HR professional would not necessarily have had the same training.
No.
So there'll be people who may need specialized training in how do I deal with complaints, grievances, etc. Obviously, they would have that basic training already. But yes, so So even if you don't have one designated person, you should know who to go to, or you should know which department to go to.
Yeah, and I think if someone is not maybe fully aware of what they should or shouldn't do, hopefully the policy that is enforced and put in place for organizations shows you a framework of what you have to do. You know, if A happens, you do B, C, and D. If F happens, you do G, H, and I, you know, and so on and so forth. So even if there are these kind of specific steps you need to take, even if you haven't had any formal training, at least there's a guideline of this is what you need to try and do.
You know, a big light bulb just, you know, came up in my, because I'm a member of the Business Staffing Plan Board.
Right.
And I can see, you know, us or making a recommendation to government to say in all of the things that we have to consider when approving a business staffing plan for a business which has more than 15 people on a work permit. And in this case, we would want, it should include everyone, you know, as well. And one of the requirements on those business staffing plans then could be that you must have a policy in place.
Yeah, you will need to have a policy because the Act says that every company has to. And if it is that after a period of time when this becomes enacted, any employee of any organization can then actually go straight to the tribunal and say, this company does not have a policy. And hence the tribunal can then order you to or you have a fine to pay. So it's not an if or but. It's a definite
Good
thing.
clarification.
So,
Ms. Anne-Marie, I know you want to give each one of them an opportunity for some closing comments as well, but see how much we can cover in the next 4 minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know we're talking about things maybe sounding a bit optional, but really it isn't. And this is something that we're encouraging persons to really start thinking about if you haven't already and start putting these things in place, because it is something that is going to be enforced. It's just a matter of time, and you don't want to get caught kind of with your pants down, so to speak, right?
Please don't. That would be another charge.
So we can make light of these things here because of what we're talking about. But it is a serious issue. It's something that a lot of people have been passionate about and are very happy to see that it's gotten to this place, and that it is so much supported by our government. And so, yeah, it's something that it's important. It isn't optional. You might as well start putting these steps in place now. Are there any things that you think we haven't really talked about today that's important for maybe listeners? And of course, we're going to have the link that we can also share. Is there any kind of final comments we really need our listeners to be aware of? Maybe beyond the policy, maybe people have policies, but maybe that training aspect, maybe how do organizations start to create maybe their own internal trainings for their staff?
Go ahead. So I think the Act does a fantastic job at ensuring that employers will have to do certain things and obviously put the policy in place. I think, there's a lot of stuff that employers can do in addition to that to already foster a culture and an environment that is safe and supportive to those people that, you know, suffer or are victims of sexual harassment, that they can come forward. And that you just create an environment of zero tolerance towards it, full stop. So I think having the policy, you know, doing training and education is really important. And there's so much more employers can do. Supporting initiatives like the Honoring Women's Month, everything you guys do, right? Sponsoring that kind of stuff, encouraging your employees to attend those types of events. And it's obviously not just what you guys do. There's initiatives all the time, all year round. Cayman has 700 nonprofit organizations, and many of them do work that is supportive of all of this. So if you can foster an environment that supports all of that as an employer, then your employees, it starts to become in their almost DNA, right? They are aware of it. That's how they act. That's how they portray your company and themselves. So I think there's a lot of things that employers can do that's not just required.
There's so much, because it needs to become like this living, breathing thing that is not just a policy on a computer, right?
No.
That is never talked about. And even in maybe the space of meetings, right? There's supervision meetings or various board meetings where it can be brought up and a part of the meeting agenda too, so that it's regularly discussed also.
Exactly. And I think that online there are a number of resources that people can watch videos, etc. So even if it's not the context of the Cayman Islands law, the fact is that what were we going to do? Make it completely opposite to the understanding of the world? No.
No.
So you can always understand what is sexual harassment from YouTube, etc., etc. Just look at what the sources are. And I just want to connect it back to gender equality in general. So sexual harassment, it fosters, it is discrimination. Because if it is that we are taking advantage of somebody or forcing them to do something or any of that, it means that you are putting them in a position to have to or to need to submit themselves to sexual harassment, to get a job, to get a promotion, etc. All of that is discriminatory. So if we say that we are about gender equality, then this also needs to be looked at as a part of that.
Right.
Okay. So,
well,
quick closing comments from you, Miss Anne-Marie.
Just to say thank you so much, Miss Carleen Bramwell, Miss Hannah Foreman, for sharing your expertise and being so open to persons reaching out to learn more. And this really just being an overall call for persons to start to educate themselves or continue to, and to review policies already in place or potentially create or merge ones. So thank you both for being here. Thank you, Mr. OC, for having us as always.
My pleasure.
And if you're not already celebrating Honoring Women Month with us this March, we please invite you to do so. We have our calendar on our social media pages, or you can go to our website, frc.gov.ky, and check out our Honoring Women Month campaign. We'll be again with Miss Carleen Bramwell this Saturday at Women and Their Wheels, a car care workshop at Superior Auto. You're very welcome to that, as well as Female Farmers and Artisan Market on the 28th on the Glass House lawn from 11 a.m. to 5 to pick up and celebrate women, be a part of purchasing from female farmers and artisans, and to get some awesome local products.
Excellent.
And so there's so much more, but I wanted to highlight those, especially with Miss Bramwell being here.
Yes.
And that's us for
Thank
today.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
so
Thank you very much as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have Nurse Anniekay Price with us from the Health Services Authority. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. Talk today. We'll be back shortly.
Easter vacation is just around the corner, and Cayman Airways has added multiple extra flights to some of your favorite destinations, some of mine too. Look here, they got seats available now for booking on extra Easter flights between Grand Cayman and Kingston, La Ceiba, Miami, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and you can even catch a non-stop flight to Montego Bay for Easter. Check it out. You can visit CaymanAirways.com, contact a local travel agent, or call Cayman Airways Reservations on 949-2311. And don't wait too long though, because these extra Easter seats always sell fast. Be sure to add your Sir Turtle Rewards number to your booking so you can earn more miles for more free trips this year. Well, I know where I'm going. I'll see you on board a uniquely Caymanian airline for Easter.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
I work hard each day. I'm a mother, sister-in, daughter, wife, cook, and everything in between. I know that no matter what, I have to be the woman I need to be. And that's why I choose Curves for that time of the month. When the pressure is on, I know I can rely on Curves sanitary napkins to keep me dry and comfortable all day and night. Affordable and available in cotton or silk. With Curves, I can be the woman I need to be all the time.
Strong, resilient, beautiful. Be the woman. Curves.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Cayman, could it be you? Tortuga's 10K giveaway is back, and someone's walking away with $10,000 in cash. Every time you spend $25 at Tortuga, in store or online at tortuga.ky, you get a shot at winning big. As well as $10,000 in cash, we've got thousands in giveaways to hand out every week. Think staycations, the latest iPhones, exclusive experiences, and more. Get in to win. Visit tortuga.ky for the full terms and conditions.
Attention Cayman! Transform your kitchen for less with Granite Express, Cayman's big clearance sale. Sale has now been extended till March 18. Get huge discounts on granite and quartz kitchen countertops. Plus, refresh your space with our cabinet respray services for as low as $3,950. If you only want a countertop, prices start at $2,150. Don't miss this limited time offer. Visit Granite Express Cayman today or call 922-0424 for a free estimate. That's 922-0424. Granite Express. Quality stone. Unbeatable prices.
Hi, this is Roy Tatum, your PPM candidate for Red Bay.
Hi, this is Crystal Gomez-Wilson, your PPM candidate for Prospect.
Come out Tuesday, March 18th at 7 p.m. to our joint Red Bay and Prospect area meeting at the empty lot next to the Seafarers Hall.
Come listen to the issues and solutions that matter to you. We are proven, stable leadership. Moving forward with the PPM.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
We can start off with these. This is
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I am your host. My name is Orrett Connor, and it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me for this segment, and it will run right straight up until 2:30. Nurse Anniekay Price. We will be talking about adult and international travel health clinic. So I want to say good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today to Nurse Price.
Hi, good
or Nurse
afternoon.
Anniekay. Most people call you Nurse Anniekay,
Anniekay,
right?
that's
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, OC. It's a pleasure to be here and to have this opportunity to speak on a subject that is quite near and dear to me and something that I've been doing for quite some time now. And that is to speak on the adult and travel health immunization clinics, because we really need persons who are traveling to come and to get the advice, get the vaccinations, and to take all the precautions that they need to take.
And while we recognize that this is not, all about you, our listeners and our viewers, they'll see that face or they'll hear that name. Some may know it, some may not. So give us some background information in terms of your career in health.
Well, I am a registered nurse, midwife, and public health nurse.
Okay.
And I've been back home from my training for 34 years. And so I've been working at Health Services Authority for that period of time. Back in 1996, I left to go and do my public health training. And on my return, I was the school health coordinator for a period of about 7 years.
Okay.
And then I took up the position of just working in the child health clinics. And recently, I now the go-to person for the adult and travel health immunization clinics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's my career, more or less. I did my training in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what year. You'll guess my age. But way back when, when there were 10,000 people in Cayman.
Yes. Okay. So. And the whole issue of, vaccines now is becoming so topical and at the same time controversial, as well. Something that we haven't seen in the past, even though when you read about the history of vaccines and everything, we see that there was always skepticism about it, especially in those trials and, people losing, dying as a result of the trials. But, vaccines are deemed to be safe now.
Vaccines have saved millions and millions and millions of lives. But even Edward Jenner himself, when he was on his journey of discovering vaccines, had a lot of skeptics. So that's something that's continued down through the centuries. And but vaccines are safe. Vaccines are necessary to prevent our children from getting diseases that could cause severe injuries, leave them debilitated in some way or the other, or even cause death. Many, many children. I remember looking at a list one day, and I was so blown away. Before the advent of vaccines, there were over 305,000 children who died in 1 year just from diphtheria itself.
Wow.
So that's where we've come from. And a lot of people are not aware of the history of vaccines. And so they're not really knowledgeable on the dangers of the diseases that vaccines prevent. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the role of public health here in the Cayman Islands, the importance of it. And based on your training, sounds like you know a lot about the history of public health here in the Cayman Islands as well.
Well, the Public Health Department, through HSA, Public Health Department and the district health centers actually offer a number of vaccines. Clinics are held weekly, and vaccines are given to children.
Right.
More centrally, we do the travel and adult immunization clinics, but we also offer vaccines to for students who are going overseas, traveling to university. We offer vaccines to adults, like I mentioned, and travelers. We also offer the influenza. We have influenza clinics that are held out in the community. We have clinics for the COVID-19 vaccine also. We have special clinics for those when it's available, but it's not available right now, pardon me. We also have special clinics for offering the human papillomavirus. Every Wednesday, those clinics are held at the Public Health Department. The child health clinics are from Monday to Friday, and persons can just call and get appointments for those clinics. We also hold on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, we have the adult and travel health clinics, as I mentioned before.
And those clinics now are established in such a way that, people don't really have to travel out of their districts to come to those clinics. Most of these vaccines are available in the various district clinics?
A lot of the vaccines are available in the district health centers, but most of the adult vaccines are given centrally, and the international travel vaccines are given centrally. But the child health clinics are held out in the districts, the school health program also have vaccinations that they offer to go into the schools and vaccinate the schools. One of the vaccines that they offer is the human papillomavirus, as well as the at age 14 they get the tetanus vaccine. Okay. And any children who have entered into the school with an incomplete the incomplete schedule will be referred to the district health center that's closest to them for their vaccines to be brought up to date.
Okay. Now, for those persons who, for whatever reason, may object to taking vaccines, is there a policy in place for that? How does that work?
Well, any children who are entering school whose parents have not had them vaccinated will have to sign a special letter stating that, a special form stating that they know if they're aware that if there's an epidemic, that the child will be excluded from school. So the child will be asked to stay at home until the epidemic is over. We don't have the law in place, so therefore it's not an obligatory by the law, but it's strongly recommended that the children are all vaccinated so that you get what is called herd protection.
Yeah.
It means that everyone, all of the children together, are all protecting each other, really. So that's what and we keep our vaccine coverages are high, are pretty good, very good, and that helps to prevent epidemics occurring. Yes.
Okay. Can we dive into the whole area of adult international travel vaccines? What one would think that in this day and age, and with the pronouncement that many of diseases have now been eradicated per se, but at the same time we see them re-emerging, for instance, like in the big developed USA, measles now, starting to spread again. Let's talk about the importance of vaccination, especially for international travel.
Well, we really have a robust vaccination program here that offers immunizations to all persons traveling overseas. Now, those persons traveling to the USA really and truly traditionally, do not really require a vaccine if you're just going shopping or if you're just going to visit relatives. However, there's certain times when you have to be very much aware of where you're going to and what's going on there.
Yes,
so right now, there's a measles outbreak, and we know that it's close to home. It's in Florida. And so we've been very vigilant, and public health has jumped into action and has been offering the vaccination openly to the public. And we want to really make sure that the population of Cayman is protected in doing so. So we've launched an education programs so that people are very much aware. You know that measles is highly infectious. The mode of transmission is through droplet, which means that anybody could, through talking and being close to someone. And it can cause complications and lead to death, which is very serious in young children especially. So we recommend that all families make sure that their young children are vaccinated. And if they have had one vaccine, they can get the second one to be completely vaccinated. If you've had your 2 MMRs or you've had one measles and one MMR, then you'll be completely covered. We have enough vaccines in supply, and we have a really robust immunization program right here, ready for vaccinating any child that needs it. We have a good supply, as I mentioned. It takes 2 doses to be considered fully immune. And if there's a family that's traveling overseas and they have a young baby with them, 6 months to 11 months, and they're going, especially if they're traveling to a country that may have some measles outbreak, they can come and have the child vaccinated with the MMR vaccine. It's called a 0 dose. In other words, it's not a dose that's going to contribute towards their childhood vaccination. So when they reach the age 1, then they'll have to get the 2 MMRs again. But that 0 dose will protect them temporarily for that travel trip, And it's a good thing to get it for parents who are very concerned. It's very good for them to have their babies vaccinated.
And what has been the uptake so far, as far as vaccinations are concerned, the various ones that are offered by the health services authority?
The uptake has been pretty good, but we continue to campaign and encourage people to come. We continue to offer special clinics so that children who are not vaccinated can get up to date with their vaccines.
Yeah. And then as far as adults are concerned, we keep hearing about the number of nationalities that we have working in the Cayman Islands, and there is no doubt that many of them will decide at some point in time to visit their countries of origin, their country of origin.
Yes.
And how important is that for them to be properly vaccinated? Like you said earlier, know where you're going, know what the conditions are there as well. What do we say to those persons who, want to visit their country of origin? They haven't seen their family for years or whatever and are going there.
Well, often I speak to persons like that, and I inform them that because they've been away from home, they're more susceptible to certain things, and so we usually advise them to get their vaccine. Some of them are quite surprised when I recommend that they get certain vaccines, because as far as they're concerned, they never had them before and they might not need them. So I tend to explain to them that because they've been away, they're more susceptible when they return. So we encourage those to come in and get the full vaccination. For countries like, for example, let me tell you, Southeast Asia, countries like South America, Central America, Africa, those countries are very important that persons returning home be fully vaccinated. There are some issues concerning people who are returning home and then traveling to other countries if their country of origin has yellow fever. Right? We're talking about most of the Central African countries, and we're talking about most of the South American countries. And in Central America, just a portion of Panama is also. So persons who travel on Cayman Airways and American Airlines may not be asked, if they're going to Panama, they may not be asked for the yellow fever booklet. The certificate is required when you're going to a country with yellow fever. But they may not be asked for it. So some people will say it's not required. However, on your return, if you try to go to Honduras or Nicaragua, Costa Rica, or if you try to go to South Africa or to Jamaica, you will be turned away if you don't have, if your passport shows that you've been there and you haven't had the yellow fever vaccine, they will not allow you in without it. So it's important that persons who are returning home be vaccinated, and persons who are actually, if a person's living here and they come from Colombia or they come from Trinidad, those persons seek out the travel health clinic, because they know wherever they go after that, because they were born in a country where there's yellow fever, they may be asked to produce this yellow fever booklet.
Okay, Nurse Anniekay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, I want to talk about the information that may be available so that when you're traveling, knowing what a particular country requires, and how would I, as a traveler, get that information here in the Cayman Islands. How do I go about getting that as well? Folks, we're talking with Nurse Anniekay Price. We're talking about adult and international travel health clinic and vaccinations. Don't change that dial if you're a traveler. You want to hear about this as well. If you're have any questions or comments related to travel and vaccinations, we certainly welcome you to call in as well. I will provide the numbers for the studio as soon as we return from this commercial break. So please stay tuned. Talk Today. We'll be back shortly.
Easter vacation is just around the corner, and Cayman Airways has added multiple extra flights to some of your favorite destinations, some of mine too. Look here, they got seats available now for booking on extra Easter flights between Grand Cayman and Kingston, La Ceiba, Miami, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and you can even catch a non-stop flight to Montego Bay for Easter. Check it out. You can visit CaymanAirways.com, contact a local travel agent, or call Cayman Airways Reservations on 949-2311. And don't wait too long though, because these extra Easter seats always sell fast. Be sure to add your Sir Turtle Rewards number to your booking so you can earn more miles for more free trips this year. But I know where I'm going. I'll see you on board a uniquely Caymanian airline for Easter.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with Valley Med Pharmacy.
Cayman Brand Source Home Gallery is having an appliance inventory reduction sale with up to 50% off selected appliances and 25% off all kitchen packages until March 31st. Enjoy discounts on luxury brands like Foster, Milano, and more. Refrigerators, wine coolers, and barbecue grills are all discounted. All appliances are included in the sale. Don't miss out. Shop now at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, and save big before prices rise in April. Call 623-5000 for more details or visit us today and take advantage of these incredible deals. Act fast before the best items are gone. Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio with me, Nurse Anniekay Price from the Health Services Authority. If you have any questions about travel and vaccines, we do have a toll-free number. So if you're calling from a Flow phone, this toll-free number is provided courtesy of Flow. That number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp number 925-3261 as well. So, Nurse Anniekay, we want you to talk about some of the services provided at the adult immunization clinic, why it is so important, and then also talk about adult immunization and why it is so important and the services that are provided there as well. And then we have some more after that, other questions that we will ask you as well.
Okay, so the adult immunization clinics, which are held daily except for Tuesdays, is a clinic that caters to adults age 18, of course, and over.
Mm-hmm.
Then we offer vaccines that protects the people from certain diseases. You know, as you get older, sometimes your immune system weakens. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're more susceptible to certain infections. So it's important that the adult vaccines are administered to prevent outbreaks and to protect vulnerable individuals in the population. We occasionally see children between 6 years of age and 18, of course, for other vaccines, but mainly for under 18 would be like the children who are traveling to university at a younger age, like 17 maybe. And then children who have missed out and need to be vaccinated right away could come into our clinic as well. But mainly this adult immunization clinic and travel health. So the reason why the vaccines that we're offering to that age group for the adults would be something, vaccines such as the influenza vaccine. We have it available. Anyone who asks for it when they come in can get the vaccine. We have the tetanus. Sometimes we give just the tetanus and diphtheria together. Diphtheria is re-emerging in the adult population, so there's a combination vaccine that protects everyone every 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And diphtheria, how do it's
diphtheria,
acquired from what? From what?
The diphtheria, well, thank God we haven't seen a case of diphtheria for many, many, many years in the Cayman Islands. But diphtheria is a condition that actually causes the growth of a membrane. It's a bacteria that causes the growth of a membrane right across your throat.
Okay.
So if you look in the mouth of a person with diphtheria, you would see that their airway would be blocked. So they're very severely affected by it. And in the old days, I suppose a lot of persons had to have special breathing apparatus, But thank God we haven't seen any of that for a long time because of the...
I recognize his name, but, from older days.
Yes, from a long time ago. There's also a Tdap vaccine, which is... the end of that is the pertussis, which is the whooping cough vaccine.
Okay.
And the whooping cough vaccine, again, that was re-emerging in adults, so we had to put that in. And so all children who are 14 years of age in the Cayman Islands are offered the Tdap vaccine. All persons who are traveling overseas and persons who have never had one before. It's also offered to parents. Mothers after the age of the gestational age of 27 weeks will be offered 28 weeks rather. Will be offered the Tdap vaccine to protect the baby. It gives the baby temporary protection from diphtheria as well as whooping cough until the baby has builds its own immunity from the immunizations we give. And parents, grandparents are also offered that vaccine because they'll be handling the baby. So those are offered. Then we have the pneumococcal vaccine that we offer in the adult immunization clinic. It helps to prevent persons getting pneumonia caused by 23 different strains of this pneumonia bacteria. And then we offer the shingles vaccine for persons who are 50 years and older. It's called Shingrix, and it consists of 2 doses, 2 to 6 months apart. We also offer the hepatitis B vaccine, and many employers now are requiring that their employees be immunized against the hepatitis B disease, which affects the liver. Hep is liver, So that affects the liver. It's a silent killer. You can pick up hepatitis B and you would not know that you've got it.
Wow.
You might just have like a mild flu, and then it sits in your liver and it's causing damage. And one day you wake up 20 years later and you look in the mirror and your eyes are yellow, and you may have then cancer of the liver. So it's a cancer prevention vaccine, hepatitis B. So it's important that our population have that vaccine. Years ago, back in 1996, when we started immunizing all babies, all school children, year 6 and year 11, we were immunizing them for a period of 96 to 97 to 98, 99, 2000, 2001. For that 4-year period, we were offering all of them in the schools, and at birth, we were giving the hepatitis B. At that time, WHO had recommended that all countries immunize all populations because it is a cancer prevention vaccine. It's highly infectious, much more infectious than HIV. So, it's easy to pass it on to other people. So we also offer the hepatitis A vaccine, where there's occupational exposure for local adults. If there's any, for example, waterworks, sewage works, those persons will need to get their hepatitis A vaccine. We also offer that for overseas travel. But for the local population, that's why we offer it. And the human papillomavirus, like we mentioned, we offer that now. It's been extended, offered now to boys as well as girls, because for years and years we only offered it to the girls, but now we offer it to the girls and the boys, and to older age groups from 26 to 48 years of age. People can get the human papillomavirus. It's called the Gardasil 9, and like I mentioned, the COVID-19 vaccine, when it's available. It's not available presently. So those are more or less the adult vaccines that we offer, more or less, Some adults may not have had their vaccination scheduled. They will have lost it. They want to apply for a U.S. visa, and so we may offer them other vaccines like the polio vaccine, or they may need other vaccines according to what's required by the embassy.
Yeah. So as an adult, we have about 2 minutes before we go to our headline news. As an adult, tell me some of the reasons why I should visit the clinic, the immunization clinic, and talk about those age ranges that you spoke about earlier, and what are our susceptibilities, in relation to those age range.
Well, I think you're over the age of 50, are you?
Yep. I can say I'm proud to be 74 years of age on February passed, I was 74 years of age.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
So persons who are age 50 years and older can have the shingles vaccine. I would recommend it because shingles is a really miserable disease to get. Now, I wanted to pause here for a moment and mention the reason why we get shingles. The persons who get shingles are persons who've had chicken pox in the past. Okay? Shingles is not infectious in terms of I can give you shingles.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Not fast from
You have to have chicken pox. Now, if you've had the chicken pox in the past, the virus never leaves your body. And that virus is just sitting there until you have a weakened immune system. Maybe you feel run down, maybe you've been overworking, maybe something's happened, and then it comes back.
It attacks
attacks you as shingles. Persons also 65 years of age for the pneumonia vaccine. If you are having health issues, and you're under 65 years of age, we will give it to you with a doctor's prescription. Pregnant mothers, as I mentioned before, also adults with chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease and asthmatic persons should come and get vaccinated, so they're protected, especially with the pneumonia vaccine. Okay, and of course, healthcare workers who are seeking employment, local or overseas, for example, persons who are migrating to places like BVI. They're very strict in BVI. They cannot leave here and go there without all their vaccines up to date. Turks and Caicos has also introduced, I've heard recently, that their vaccines must be up to date. So people are traveling for that reason.
Okay, we're going to take a break to go to our headline news. When we return, this very informative discussion with Nurse Anniekay Price right here on Talk Today will continue. We hope and trust that you're listening in, taking notes. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us. Our toll-free number 1-800-534-8255. Also 949-8037. 949-6990. WhatsApp number 925-3261. We will be back shortly.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. A murder trial is expected to start this week. 2 people are charged in connection with the 2023 shooting of Devontae Hernandez. Bianca Vega is accused of aiding her co-defendant in evading arrest. George Orlando Sr. is one of 3 people charged in relation to Mr. Hernandez's murder, which happened in front of the victim's young daughter. In international headlines, the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court has released a rare statement in response to President Donald Trump's call to impeach a judge who ruled against his administration over migrant deportations. Chief Justice John Roberts said in a statement that for more than 2 centuries it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. He added that the normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. Trump earlier referred to U.S. District Judge James Boasberg as a troublemaker and agitator after he ordered the administration to halt deportations of accused gang members to El Salvador. 2 NASA astronauts who've been on the International Space Station since last June have begun their journey back to Earth aboard a SpaceX Dragon flight. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore were sent on an 8-day mission that turned into a 9-month stint following technical issues with their Boeing Starliner capsule. The trip home is expected to last almost 17 hours. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Easter vacation is just around the corner, and Cayman Airways has added multiple extra flights to some of your favorite destinations, some of mine too. Look here, they got seats available now for booking on extra Easter flights between Grand Cayman and Kingston, La Ceiba, Miami, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and you can even catch a non-stop flight to Montego Bay for Easter. Check it out. You can visit CaymanAirways.com, contact a local travel agent, or call Cayman Airways Reservations on 949-2311. Oh, don't wait too long though, because these extra Easter seats always sell fast. Be sure to add your Sir Turtle Rewards number to your booking so you can earn more miles for more free trips this year. Well, I know where I'm going. I'll see you on board a uniquely Caymanian airline for Easter.
Subway and Oreo has changed the dessert game. Introducing the Oreo Footlong Cookie, a full 12 inches of chocolatey, creamy goodness. It's big, it's bold, and it's here for a limited time. Perfect for sharing or not. We won't judge. Want it fast? Order ahead with the Subway Cayman Islands app for quick pickup and earn loyalty points. Or get it delivered straight to your door with Bento and Let's Eat. Don't wait. Treat yourself today. The Oreo Footlong Cookie is calling your name. Subway. Eat fresh. Snack sweet.
Freedom. Cayman Brac. Freedom. Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations. A taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Hi, this is Roy Tatum, your PPM candidate for Red Bay.
Hi, this is Crystal Gomez Wilson, your PPM candidate for Prospect.
Come out Tuesday, March 18th at 7 p.m. to our joint Red Bay and Prospect area meeting at the empty lot next to the Seafarers Hall.
Come listen to the issues and solutions that matter to you. We are proven, stable leadership. Moving forward with the PPM.
We're moving forward. We're moving forward.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. This segment is going to go right up until 2:30. We're talking with Nurse Anniekay Price. She's from the Health Services Authority. She's a public health nurse. And we're talking about Adult and International Travel Health Clinic, the Adult and International Health Clinic that we have here in the Cayman Islands, talking about travel vaccination as well. Before the interview is over, we're also going to talk about some of the things that can happen to travelers and how do you go about reducing the risk as well. We know that in our seaman days, our seamen were world travelers. Now Caymanians, other Caymanians are now world travelers as well. In addition to that, we have, over 100 nationalities residing here in the Cayman Islands who travel to their home countries. They all may differ in terms of what the requirements are. They all may differ in terms of the conditions that are there as well. So while I have said that, maybe Nurse Anniekay, you may want to hold up those maps and tell us about, some of those countries where eradication has taken place and some of those countries where they're still working on some of these diseases as well.
Well, in terms of this this map here, we can see in Africa there are many countries where the yellow fever disease has been eradicated, and we can name Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique has no more and Madagascar have no more yellow fever.
Okay.
Zambia's half of 50% is eradicated. Tanzania is also working through a program of eradication. So if you go to Tanzania, you still need to get the yellow fever vaccine. So that's some of the countries that yellow fever has been eradicated from. And then if we look at the map of South America, you can see the countries that still have cases of yellow fever that can occur. They have the presence of the yellow fever monkey, which is where yellow fever is transmitted. A mosquito will bite the monkey and then bite maybe the forest worker.
Okay.
And then, of course, that mosquito then carries yellow fever from the monkey to the adult. And the adult then goes into the population, carries it out. He now has yellow fever and the mosquitoes bite him and then bite other people. And that is how it's transmitted.
Okay.
Yeah, so
do we have any maps of Asian countries?
No, there's no yellow fever in any Asian countries whatsoever.
Wow.
The only other map I have here is what we call the meningitis belt in Africa. This dark blue right across the Central Africa is called the meningitis belt, and they do have outbreaks of meningitis in Central Africa. So
she wants you to hold that up a little higher so that the camera can pick it up.
Yeah, this is the meningitis belt right across Central Africa. So whenever anyone's going to Africa, any of those African countries you see there, we usually try to locate exactly where they're going to be.
Okay.
So if they're going to be in anywhere in those areas where there's meningitis, we will offer them the vaccine. That most definitely, especially during a specific season. It's a seasonal thing in those countries, so we will offer them the vaccine. So we can talk a little bit more about the travelers.
Certainly. And you said the implications for some, if they don't get the vaccine and there's evidence that they have traveled to some of those countries, when they are going to other countries that require it, they may not be able to enter if they don't have evidence of that vaccine as well.
Let me give you a very interesting story.
Okay.
There's a young Caymanian girl. She's an adult now, but she was a teenager, or late teens at that time, and she was in university in South Africa. And she and her friends decided now they're going to take a little trip up to, I think it was Tanzania they went to. And when they came back, they were asked for the yellow fever booklet certification. And they had she had no certificate of yellow fever. So there was a very nice gentleman listening in the background and heard all of this and offered to pay for her to have the yellow fever vaccine so that she could get back into South Africa.
So you could then obtain it upon entry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So therefore, she had to be vaccinated before she entered the country. But we have had the experience of a couple of ladies going to Panama.
Okay.
And previously, before this incident took place, we would say, well, you're going east of the Panama Canal, you're not going to west, so therefore, you're going to West Panama Canal, not to east, so therefore you don't need the yellow fever vaccine, which is what I said to the lady. When she got to Costa Rica, they turned her away and sent her back to Cayman.
Wow.
Yes. So from that, and then I found out why, because there had been a case come over from another continent to that continent, and therefore they had an outbreak, you see? And when there's an outbreak, everybody just clamps down. And so after that, we advised everyone to get the yellow fever vaccine, So, it's important that you get your yellow fever vaccine. Now, persons who are age 16 over cannot get the yellow fever. It's not recommended by the manufacturers for that person to have the yellow fever vaccine. Because it carries an increased risk of some neurotrophic disease that can cause death.
Okay.
Now, if the risk is much greater, that evaluation has to be done by a medical person. If the risk is much greater, then one has to have a discussion with the patient, the doctor, and determine whether or not we would proceed to give the yellow fever vaccine. But most persons can use repellents. If they're 16 over and they're going into a high-risk area, which is not normal. Normally, the persons who like to go into the forested areas or who are going to be camping and hiking and trekking and river rafting and mountain climbing and doing the things out in nature that would put you at risk in those countries of getting yellow fever, normally it's a younger age group. So normally the older age group persons don't normally go into areas where they're at high risk, what I would say very high risk. But we do have some advice, which I'm going to mention a little bit later, for persons who go into high-risk areas and who need to take extra precaution to prevent them from getting yellow fever. We do have that. We're going to mention that when we talk about the travel tips. But yellow fever.
If I may interrupt you there, Nurse Anniekay, one of our listeners has written in and said, I understand that persons who have had the MMR vaccine in the 50 to 70 era should be revaccinated again. Any comments on that?
Well, we have not. I don't know that we have a policy on that right now. We're focused on getting the children all vaccinated that have not been vaccinated. But it's something I'm sure public health will be looking at because that they're also vulnerable, but they don't travel. They usually, the older population are usually at home people. They're not out and about. But that's something maybe they will look into, but not right now. But anyone throughout the Cayman Islands who feel they would like to get an MMR vaccine can come to public health, call it public health, get an appointment, and come and get the vaccine.
Okay.
Get vaccinated.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have about 15 minutes left, so I want you to take the discussion wherever you want it to go to make sure that we hit all of those important points that you want to get across to our listeners and our viewers.
Thank you. So it's crucial that our people who are planning travel, especially vacationing or people who are going away on business trips or people going to conferences, children who are attending universities, persons who are going for procedures overseas. It's important that those persons seek some advice, health advice, travel health advice, but also for their immunization to know what their risk factors are where in the destination countries. So some countries have diseases that are not common in other parts of the world. So we have to be aware. We are aware of them, and we have to share that information with those persons who are traveling, that they need to come to the clinic, and they need to book well in advance as well, because the clinic is very, very booked up. Now, persons who are traveling may require, like I mentioned, the yellow fever, but they also, depending on the type of activities, may require a typhoid vaccine. So we're looking at their risk factors. We're looking at the type of accommodation they're going to be in, how long they're going to be there, what the risk factors are in the country they're going to, and their risk of exposure. And so typhoid, if you're roughing it, low budget, out in the wild, camping, hiking, trekking, as I mentioned. Then hepatitis A and B is highly recommended to most travelers going to European countries, Southeast Asia, Africa, Central and South America. The tetanus vaccine, I always advise for persons to leave with their tetanus vaccine up to date. In the event they should have an injury, they then don't have to go seeking medical assistance and to get the tetanus vaccine overseas. And some persons might need the polio vaccine, mostly people who are looking, hoping to get a U.S. visa, preparing for that. Anyone who's visiting a country that has some wild polio at that time may need the polio vaccine as well. Persons who will need rabies would be persons who are going to work with animals. Like, for example, there are people who have left here to go work with the pandas in Southeast Asia. So those persons may need the rabies vaccines. Most persons do not need the rabies vaccines, and the reason being is that post-bite vaccination is very effective. So the vast majority of people who travel is not going to be bitten just suddenly out of the clear blue sky, but it can happen. So what we always tell them to do is wash with soap and water immediately. Because rabies is in the saliva of the animal that bites. So you wash it vigorously, you seek medical attention, start your rabies vaccine series, and then we will finish them when they come home. So, and the vet students locally also will come and get their rabies vaccines. And then there are countries where there's a need for a malaria prophylaxis. to prevent them getting malaria. It's really important that they start taking them 2 days before they arrive in the malarious area, every day that they're there, and 7 days afterwards, because the life cycle of the parasite is constantly being interrupted when you take the actual tablet. And it is a tablet. The malaria is a tablet. And it's a tablet that you take on a full stomach. You don't take it on an empty stomach because you may find that it can cause you to be very upset. And then we also offer some travel tips. We send people travel tips on how to prevent them getting traveler's diarrhea, food and water hygiene, safety precautions, and guidance on making sure that they take their medications, enough medications, especially if they might be delayed returning. Make sure they get some medications for altitude sickness if they're climbing Kilimanjaro, as we had recently. Two young ladies went to climb Kilimanjaro, and they had to be well prepared before they went up there. And they made it to the summit. I saw the photos afterwards.
Great.
Yes. And one of the most important things I want to mention is that persons may be going to a country with a low risk of malaria, but they also might be at high risk of dengue fever because it's really rampant around the world. So we always advise that you use a mosquito repellent on your skin that has contains 30 to 50% DEET. Very, very important. Okay. And there is another one called permethrin, which is also effective. We also advise that you spray your clothes with a mosquito repellent. So you've got double protection to prevent you from getting dengue. It's important that nobody gets dengue when they're overseas, because dengue is a condition that can be treated. The symptoms can be treated and you can recover from it. But the second time you get dengue fever, it can be detrimental to your health. It can be fatal.
Okay.
So we don't want we want to make sure that they're protected from dengue. So that the use of the repellents is very important. Wearing long sleeve and long pants after dusk and after dark, around the time when the mosquitoes are biting. That's very important. And then the travel health insurance. They must get proper travel health insurance. Yeah. And I would say that it's extremely important you have at least over $500,000 for repatriation, which is air ambulance, and at least 8 to 10 million for hospitalization. So that if you were to meet with an accident, you can be transported to the nearest intensive care unit closest to your family, so you're not stuck at somewhere in far, far away from your family. And also that it optimizes your chances of full recovery if you have good travel health. And it's not expensive. A lot of people think it would be. I worked it out with a lady a few weeks ago, and it was only $180 US that she paid, which is really worth paying that $180 US to get that good coverage, so that if in the event you were to have an accident, and accidents do happen, we can't prevent them from happening.
And what makes it so I will use the term inexpensive, even though that could be relative, but is it because of the duration of time that the person is likely to be traveling, as opposed to, let's say, months? They're probably just going someplace for days or weeks. So
yes, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah. They usually ask you what date are you leaving, what date are you returning. So that
premium will be determined by that.
That would have a bearing on it. Yeah. So the travel tips that we give them is helps to reduce the risk. Everything we do is trying to reduce the risk of them developing some sort of a disease at that time or later on at a later time, because sometimes people can develop the disease 3 months later or 4 months later after they've returned. So those are the sort of things that we discuss. We do the travel tips, we give the vaccination, we do record keeping. We fill in their yellow fever certificate and sign it and stamp it if they're traveling to a country with yellow fever. Those are some of the things that we do in the clinic to ensure our patients, our clients, our people of the Cayman Islands are healthy and well when they're going and when they return.
Yeah.
Yes.
And any tips for when a person returns and they're not showing any signs of anything? You mentioned, about you putting repellents on clothing and stuff like that when you're overseas. Any tips for when the person returns in terms of sanitizing what they have traveled with? Any risks associated there?
Risk associated with where they've traveled to?
Where they've traveled from, and what they could possibly bring back with them. Yeah.
There was a young guy in the U.S. who traveled to South America, and he was in the Amazon, and he decided he would go into the water with the people. He would do everything the local tribal people, persons did. And when he returned home, he noticed on the back of his leg there was like a bite. And the bite got bigger and bigger and bigger. And he went to several doctors, but nobody could really diagnose what it was. But finally, he had a friend, I think, who was a microbiologist, and they did some examination. And he was referred to a hospital in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
There he ended up for about 6 weeks on a drip, and they finally treated it successfully. Then we learned that this condition is something that's quite severe, and quite a few people have gone there and picked it up. And so it just highlights the importance of protecting yourself and being very careful. There was recently also some persons bitten by the tsetse fly, which causes a sleeping sickness. And so the use of the repellent is very important because of that. And those persons actually ended up in an intensive care unit and with renal failure. Their kidneys shut down, and I'm thankful to say that I'm very happy to say that they got the proper treatment and fully recovered. But that shows the importance of using your mosquito repellent, knowing what's there, what's out there, what you're at risk from, and also having proper travel health insurance. Really important. Yeah.
Are there any implications in terms of travel and what we see happening in the U.S. in terms of many of the international programs that are being cut, funds are being cut, layoffs, and any implications that may have for the receiving countries who rely on international organizations to fight diseases in those countries? Does that highlight the need for people traveling to be even more vigilant and
absolutely,
prepared?
absolutely. One of the things I always let the clients know, I send them some travel tips, and at the very top of some of the travel tips, it says that if you find yourself in a situation when you travel where there's any major disasters or any unrest, civil unrest, or anything that it could impact your health negatively, you can in fact get in touch with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, make contact with them, and report what is going on and ask for help if you need help. Yes. So. I always remind them also that they have my email address, that they can send me an email if there's anything that they have any queries or anything like that, and they want me to make some inquiries for them, so that they know they're connected, and they have that assurance. Yeah.
Okay, we have about 4 minutes left, 3 minutes actually. So I want to give you, an opportunity, to summarize what has been said and to emphasize the importance of the adult travel health clinic, as well.
Well, it's important that we all be vaccinated with the vaccines that are due at whatever age they're due. And if you're not sure, please call the clinic. It's the number is 244-2648. And make an appointment. The number is 244-2648, the Public Health Department. And make an appointment and come in and get your vaccination history updated. And any vaccines you require at that time, we can administer them. And I would also say that especially persons who are traveling overseas, be sure that you get all the advice that you need, all the travel tips. Be sure that you know what your risk is according to the accommodation you're staying in, according to the country you're going to, according to the period of time you're going to be there, and according to what is happening in that country at that time. Because there are different things going on, and we must be aware of them and be prepared to make make changes to our travel plans if necessary.
Okay.
So we're asking everyone to please book your appointments well in advance, 6 to 8 weeks preferably. 8 weeks would be really pretty good, because then if you're due a hepatitis B vaccine, we can get 2 in before you go, and those 2 will cover you well, fully, while you're away. So it's important that they book it well in advance. Now, we do recognize there are people who have emergencies.
Yes.
There are people whose companies will say, well, look, I need you to go this place next week. And we do understand that, and we do our very, very best to accommodate them. Yeah.
But with summer coming up now as well, are you likely to see more activity?
Oh yes.
When you get
oh
really
yes,
busy?
yes. Oh yes, oh yes.
Between you and the passport office, I guess, right?
We're inundated, especially with the students preparing also at the same time as the adults are all going off on vacation all over the world. But we also have students who are preparing for university, and we are wanting the parents to get the students prepared at an early stage, because they will need a meningitis B vaccine as well as the Menveo vaccine, which covers another series of 4. And their children have to be up to date with their Tdap vaccine, and they have to make sure they have their second chicken pox vaccine. The second varicella vaccine is very important as well.
Okay, one of our listeners wanted to know whether or not there's a website, HSA or public health website, where this additional information or all of the information that you have dispensed this afternoon can
well, OC, I'm very, very happy to say that is in the making. Yes,
Okay.
there is a website with some very basic information, but it is actually being developed as we speak.
Okay.
Which is why I'm here, because
Yes.
the public awareness campaign has been launched, and we have a very good comprehensive plan. And our health promotions officer is doing an excellent job in making sure that the information that I'm sharing gets out, that the public are aware, and they're knowledgeable, and they're protected. This is for their protection, because it is a form of prevention. But what protects them also protects the rest of us. Because we don't want them traveling overseas and coming back with anything that might cause a problem in the community, you know? Yeah. So, yes, it's important, really. And yes, we are working on that.
Well, thank you very much. I learned a lot this afternoon as well, being the host on here. That's why I was listening so attentively.
And thank you so much for having
attentively.
me.
Yes. And you did an excellent job in conveying the information, making it clear, going into every minute detail, as well. And I want to remind our listeners and our viewers that you can go and replay either the whole of Talk Today this afternoon, or whatever particular segment honoring Women Month, or this segment on vaccinations and the travel health clinic at the Health Services Authority as well. And you can retrieve all of that information by going on to YouTube and replaying whatever segment or the whole show if you want as well. Very, very valuable information. We know more and more Caymanians are traveling. I keep hearing about people going on safaris and going to, various places as well. Or you may have a co-worker who invites you to their country of origin to go and to visit, as well. And you may need to have all of this information. That co-worker may have been away from their country for quite a while as well, and may not be familiar, with all of the requirements as well. But who is familiar with it? Those people at the Public Health Clinic and at the Health Services Authority, and they will tell you what you need to have, what you don't need to have, when you need to have it, and what to do as well. So again, Nurse Anniekay Price, thank you very much. I want to thank all of our listeners, as well. It again was a pleasure. Guest hosting right here on Talk Today. Please continue to stay safe. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital, peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.